I don't know. But there we go. What's up, everybody? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is Philly Sports Unfiltered. And it's Jeffrey Lurie, the greatest owner in sports. We're going to talk about it. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody. This is Philly Sports Unfiltered. That's Tony Cutillo. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We got a lot to go over. Unfiltered, take it a week. We'll do that at the end of the show. A possible Sixers big three of Maxey, McCain, and a lottery pick. We'll dive into it. Jeffrey Lurie, a Philly savior. That's what he is. That's right into a poll question. That's right into it. Jeffrey Lurie is the best owner in sports ever. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow. Most importantly, join the conversation tonight with us. Tell us your thoughts. Tone, like we do on Thursdays. Lead her off, baby.
Ooh, man, it's been an exciting day in Philadelphia, right? I mean, we talked about the tush push, and everybody's been talking about that. We got the Phillies are on a roll, right? It was 7 in a row. Taking care of business, right? Taking care of business in Colorado. I think we have some. I heard you guys last night on Wednesday night show talking about what we do with the pitching staff. I thought that was a great conversation. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can hear all the shows. And I'll tell you what, man. Looking at this Jeffrey Lurie thing, I had to talk about it because he came out with the gold standard talk a long time ago. Remember, and he got lambasted for it, man. They buried him for it. Like, it's a Boston guy. It's a Boston guy who would have much rather at that time bought the Patriots, but he didn't, right? Got the Eagles. And for a while, we were chasing the Patriots. We were chasing that allure. We were chasing it all. Guess what? We are the goddamn Patriots now. We're actually better than the Patriots. And Jeffrey Lurie, what he's been able to do, man. Like, every bad owner that we've had in town. Listen, we got to deal with Josh Harris right now, right? So just think about it. But the talk, this guy goes and he goes at the other owners. He's talking about wet dreams. He's talking about like who is this guy, man? But all I know, he's our owner. He's our number one. And I'll tell you what, this dude, if Dougie P's got a goddamn statue and Nick Foles has got a freaking statue, they better bronze this mother, what, right now, because he deserves one.
Absolutely. Listen, the gold standard is right where I was going too, because he brought it up, and we joked about it through the Andy years where we did a lot of winning, but we didn't win the whole thing, and a lot of sleepless weeks and nights after NFC title game losses, etc. And I think we ridiculed him a lot for calling it the gold standard because it never got there. It was a gold standard in regular season wins. It was a gold standard in being competitive, but it never finished the job. And I think 2017 started that case, obviously, to finally get over the hump organizationally. But to be able to go get a second one, listen, you're only as good as at the top, right? It's from the top down. So you need great owners that have other things be great too underneath of them. And Jeffrey Lurie has proven that with a couple of reasons. He's loyal, but he knows when it's time. And I think him and Howie, they've been ahead of the curve with a lot of that stuff in terms of, we think it might be too soon to fire Dougie P. How do you fire him? First coach in Eagles history to win a Super Bowl, but you felt like it was time, right? And you ended up making the right move, and that doesn't happen all the time. That takes a lot of guys that are really locked in and do their job at a high level, starting with the owner of this organization. So, it's the best owner in sports ever is hard. So I'm going to disagree with the best ever, but he's the best we've ever had in this city.
So why? So I got to ask you, why? Like what? And it's not like you have a false
completely honest. I would have to really think about other great owners, but there's guys with a lot bigger trophy cases than him, and that would be disrespectful for me to sit here and not give guys their flowers who had dynasties. And we haven't had a dynasty. We've had a lot of great football. We made a ton of money. We have 2 Super Bowls in his lifetime, which in his history of being here, which is great. I think you need more to be the best ever.
I don't know, man. I don't think it's about hardware though. Like I know it might be a bad statement, but I don't think it's all about hardware. I think I look at it as he's created a culture that nobody else has ever done. He's created a culture on a team that they get rid of guys. Like we went through the whole Joe Banner era where you're 30, you're out, and those guys would come back. He created an era where you got rid of the best coach in Eagles history in Andy Reid, right? Because you knew it was time to move on, and he still loves you. Still loves the organization, right? So I listen. All I'm saying is looking at all the owners that I can think about. I'm not talking about going back to the freaking Stone Age. I'm talking about, recently, okay? There's no doubt in my mind, zero, that this dude is the best owner ever because of what he's been able to accomplish full circle. That's the way I'm looking at it.
No, listen, I get that side of it, but I mean, look at what the ownership's done in Pittsburgh for years.
How many? Yeah, but they lose in the first round of playoffs every year, right?
No, but I'm just saying if we're going, but they've also had ownership groups that literally won a ton. They were maybe arguably the most loyal franchise in NFL history, if not sports history. I'm just giving other.
Yeah,
there's a lot. There's a lot of other great owners out there and great ownership groups that have done great things like before my time that I think it would be disrespectful without me really sitting down and spending a ton of time to look at their resumes, look what they did, do more research on it. It's not as easy. A lot of polls are just bang. This one's not that simple to me.
Well, those polls are on WIP.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. That's my point. I'm not copping out. I'm not copping out either. There's just a lot to unpack with this. And I'm the biggest homer there is probably. So, I mean, I love Jeffrey. I love what he's done here. I just don't know ever, right? I know I can say arguably in the last decade, sure, absolutely. He's won a Super Bowl with 2 different head coaches. Absolutely. You're up there in the last decade, but for me to say all time, I think I might get carried away. So I don't want to do that respectfully. So I'll be the guy who disagrees.
That's okay. I mean? Yeah, like your boy Greg disagrees too, so you guys can team up and disagree. That's all right. My boy Japan says, what's he say? Oh, he's Jerry Buss. Says up there. I put Jerry Buss up there. Okay, but I think everybody's looking at this.
Jerry Jones, you guys can laugh at it, but Jerry Jones is up there. Jerry Jones is up there for what he was able to do in the 90s and how much money he was able to make off of just little things that not everybody talks about. The fact that he was the only owner in sports history that had Pepsi and Coca-Cola in the same damn stadium on bidding wars on who would get the better spots. Like that's how stupid money he made. Now, did that longevity continue? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you're talking about great owners over a decade, 2 decades, right? That was a guy who was a great owner over a decade, right? Now, did it continue? I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying he's a guy. If they would have just maybe didn't ruin it over the last 2 decades, he would have been a guy that's in that conversation. But he went the opposite way. So there's a lot of
But now you're talking about dollars and cents. Right?
There's a lot, right? There's a lot to unpack.
Right? Listen, I'm not, but I'm looking at this to where just little things, right? Little things about what other owner do you know of in all sports? And I know you'd have to do research, but honestly, is going to be so involved in the drafting process. Going to Carson Wentz's grade school, for God's sake. And the lady who served him a freaking pancakes every week. Okay, he wanted to talk. Jeffrey Lurie wanted to talk to him. I've never seen a guy so invested. And I will say this, so authentic. Right? He literally, when you see him upset, he literally is upset. He literally treats and the thing about Jerry Jones, all right, good point. Yeah, he had the 90s. I get it and all that. And he had great coaches and he had great coordinators and great players. However, the culture was never good. The culture always sucked. And it still sucks, right? It still sucks. And that has the owner written all over it. That culture can never be good in an organization. So that's why I look at this and say, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm not afraid. I don't give a shit about respect. I don't give a shit about going back years. I don't care. What I'm saying is right now, this sample size, it cannot be replicated and it was never duplicated. So for me, he is 100%. I'm hashtag agree. He is the best owner ever. Mark it down, man. I'm taking that to the grave.
Yeah, it's a tough one to take to the grave. As much as I want to agree with you, it's a tough one. It's a tough.
It's a great comment right there, by the way. I honestly,
yeah,
it's
he's
straight
adapted
up.
Great. Yep, he's adapted great. I listen. This isn't a shot at Jeffrey Lurie for me to not put him as a number one of all time, just because there's other guys that did a lot of great things over their ownership times in different sports that is just not on the field, but right or on the court, whatever, but off the field as well. So there's a lot of them. I think it's a great conversation. It's not as simple. It's not as simple as 1 + 1 is 2, like a lot of polls can be in terms of this one, because when I talk about ownership, I don't really give a shit about owners. So I can't tell you how much attention I paid.
True. Yeah,
I paid the owners, and that's where I'm like copping out away. Like I don't know enough. I mean, I would have to, you know what I mean? I would have to go be a fan of every, let's say, great ran organization, because there's been a lot of them. Like somebody brought up the Lakers for years, obviously. You know, some of it's luck, right? Some of it's getting the right players. But you got to have the people in charge underneath you to be drafting those types of players too. So that's where it all starts at the top. I just don't think owners in sports sometimes get enough credit unless they like have that run of like 3 over a decade, right? So, but he's right there, man. That's where I'm not like, this isn't like the hardest disagree of all time. This is more of I know what I know and I don't know what I don't know.
I love that comment that just showed
Hughes
up.
is a great owner in Dallas for years, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of really great, genuine owners out there that I don't know, you know. But what he's done in the last decade, Tone, that's where I'm agree. Like over the last decade, there's nobody better. No,
there's definitely not. There's definitely not. And you know, everything that he stands for and everything that he's done, especially in a turbulent time, you know, in this town with a lot of different things are going on with. You know, you have rest in peace Ed Snyder going away for the Flyers, who was obviously not great ever, but he was a good owner. He was a great owner. He really cared, right? You know, the Sixers, we could get into that another day, right? When was the last time we had really good ownership? They saw Pat Croce, but he wasn't the owner, right? Pat Croce wasn't the owner, right? He was a GM.
No, he was the owner.
Was he the owner?
He was the owner for like whatever that was, like 2 years maybe.
So I mean, you got to get, when it was Pat Croce, I mean, forget about it, right? I mean, that dude who sucks right now, he's going through a lot of illnesses, but you know, he was the spark plug of the franchise. And then, you know, listen, for so many years, what was it for the Phillies before Middleton came out as being like one of the sole owners. It was who was the wasn't
David
Giles.
Montgomery. David Montgomery.
And David Montgomery was fantastic, right? And he was another guy, and maybe it's just me, but seeing guys like Montgomery just wear his emotions on his sleeves is why I think I have such a man crush on Jeffrey Lurie. No pun intended. No, based on it, not by looks, by God no, but by his style. Just like before we start getting the memes out there, I'm not saying listen. Let's not go there, but I mean just from a strategic standpoint. But Monty, man, he wears emotions on his sleeves too. So yeah, I look at that. And I just think that, you know, with the ever-changing philosophies in the NFL, you know, what was going on over the last couple of years, I just think that he's really earned his spot. And after what happened today, like our boy Umberto there says, he put his balls on the table after saying, that was some of the best theater I've ever heard. When you heard what happened right there. I mean, when we got listen, you can't make it up, man. They can't make it up. That's our guy, Tom. That's our guy.
It is. It is. Angry Bear said George Steinbrenner probably the best when he was alive. He was one of them for sure.
Yeah.
I hate the Yankees, but despise the Yankees, but I can't run from the fact of consistent winning and relevance and likeness and brand marketing and everything they did. So, there's guys I hate that I'll make sure I give some flowers to. But yeah, it's a great conversation, right? I mean, like I said,
we'll be having it for a while too. We'll be having it for a while.
Yeah, and Robert Kraft's another one. I mean, dude, that runs incredible.
Kraft's a legend, though, man.
So and then you get the massages. I mean, Jeffrey.
Yeah, you get the massages. You got his boy Belichick's with the 20-year-old. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on out there.
It was a weird locker room. Yeah, there, and you got Hernandez in that locker room with all this. It's a tough locker room. Gronk.
Yeah, you got body shots probably in the locker room. There's probably all kinds of stuff going on in that spot. But, from one owner to another owner, talking about the 76ers a little bit. And again, this is, like we said, Philly Sports Unfiltered. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but different angles, right? Different narratives. Like we come on here and just say, oh, who can we pick at number 3, right? But I'll tell you, Tom, we talked about last week the reinsertion of the physicality in the NBA for the playoffs, and how we looked at these teams and said we're not even freaking close. Like we're not even close. And I was thinking about something, and it was, what if in your idea, the possibility, we go into this draft and we say, you know what, it's a wash now. We're done with the Joel Embiid. He's never going to come back healthy. We're going to trade Paul George. Could we? Because I kind of feel like we're stuck, but I do think there's a glimmer of hope in a way that we can build around Maxey, McCain, and whoever this number 3 pick's going to be. I call me crazy, but I look at these teams, man. I'm looking now, and I'm thinking there's a way to do this. Right? Indiana found a way to do it. Right? They found a way with to bring Siakam over. Right? They got Halliburton. They got a really good nucleus of bench pieces coming off. And I do think there's a way. And I saw so much hope in McCain when he was healthy. I'm thinking, this is a shooting league, right? I mean, who was the big man that the Golden State Warriors had? And I get they had Steph Curry. I understand that. But what I'm saying, though, is who was their big man? Draymond Green, Kevin freaking Looney? Come on, man.
Green and who was the other guy? It was Looney, but I feel like there was somebody else mixed in, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It wasn't somebody It wasn't a household name.
Exactly. And that's my problem. So I honestly think, I see what you think, see what everybody thinks, but I do think there's a percentage of me in my mind that says it can be done with those 3 guys.
Well, what are you doing with you're using the pick, correct?
Yes, I'm using the pick.
Yes. This pick needs to be used.
It has to be.
Because the Sixers are in a it's weird to say a great spot, but they're in a great spot in terms of they could come out and win next year.
Yeah.
Or if they don't, they have young players to sort of build around and build it up. Right. So there's a lot of ways to look at it. You say guard league. I couldn't agree with you more. We talked about this last night. I mean, if you want to talk about the best scorer in this draft, it's Trey Johnson. Okay. And I don't really care what anybody else has to say. You can turn on something and know real quick on who the best overall translates to NBA scorer is. Definitely defensive issues here, right? Defense, is a 1-2 thing. That's where he lacks. But overall scorer at the guard position, that's a guy who can create his own shot. And not a lot of guys in this draft can. And he's one guy who absolutely can create his own shot. And it's not take it to the bucket all the time, right? He can stroke it. So probably arguably your best scorer. Dylan Harper, I really like Dylan Harper. I like his size at the guard position. I think he's a true point guard. Another guy, really good handles. But, the Rutgers stuff, does he go to the San Antonio? I don't know. I'll tell you one guy I don't want. and the more I've like sat here and thought about it, I do not want Ace Bailey at all.
I don't either.
At all. Not even a little bit. Like, I'll take Trey Johnson. I'll take VJ. I'll take other guys. I mean, VJ's probably your most athletic guy in this draft. He'll jump out of gymnasium. But there's offensive deficiencies right now that this fan base would really have to waste some time for. Trey Johnson is your most finished offensive product in this draft, not named Cooper Flack. All right, and I know Colin Knippel's really good too, but let me see how good Knippel is when he's not playing next to Cooper Flack. I don't know. He probably is. I didn't watch enough Duke games to give you both guys. Where Cooper Flack will drive, he'll penetrate, where Trey Johnson's more going to live on the outside, but he can get to the bucket. So, I mean, I don't know. That's where I'm at. I think over the last week, I've really shifted away from the Rutgers guys to more of like, you know what, dude, I'm not doing that. I mean, if Harper's there, sure, I'll take him. But I think Trey Johnson is going to leave this draft when it's all said and done. I've been wrong plenty as the best scorer in this draft. The best overall scorer. I think he walks into 25 and like, that's the kind of scorer he is. And I could be
that's what you
so
need.
wrong.
No,
that's what we need.
Yeah.
Him and Maxey are so dangerous together. I feel like that combo, that scoring combo is so dangerous. Now, Maxey and VJ are dangerous together too, because I feel like that's like the Energizer Bunny up and down the court. Like, it's just run city, and we're watching teams run right now in the playoffs too. So don't miss it. That's all.
Right.
I talked enough Sixers on this one, but you can't miss it. You got to take it. Anybody talks about trading for Durant or trading for anybody else, shut your mouth when you're talking to me, and literally throw your head off of your sheetrock wall. All right, I want you to live, but throw your head off the sheetrock and wake up.
That's asinine. It really is. I get it. Everybody's talking about one last run. Listen, man, like, we mentioned it last week, and I'm going to mention it again. You cannot do, like, when you have a team that is still built around an if player, if he comes back, Joel Embiid, there's no way that you can waste this pick, especially for a 36, 37-year-old Kevin Durant, who is on the last legs of his career, who's going to come here for what? Like, he's not really going to want to be here. You're not going to get the best. Look at Paul George. Like, you're not going to get the best out of these guys. The more I looked at this, the more I thought about it. And I do have a little question. We didn't talk about this, but I was thinking about it as we were getting ready for the show. And last year, you know, I really was disappointed at the Nick Nurse experience. I'm a big Nick Nurse guy. When he came here, I wanted Nick Nurse. I loved what he did in Toronto. A great, great basketball mind. Really is. And last year, at the beginning of the year, I was like, this dude's getting beat down. Like, I think this dude's frustrated. He's checked out. He doesn't know what the hell's going on with his players. Are they available? Are they not available? And I think last year just kind of burn him. And I think he's done. And I look at the coaches right now that are coaching right now. Like, I look at Tom Thibodeau, right? I look at Tibbs, and everybody don't want to talk about Tibbs, but guess what? Tibbs always gets it done, right? He always gets it done. And I'm looking at Nick Nurse and going, you know what? If this is going to be a team that we build around Maxey, McCain, and if it's Trey Johnson, okay, is Nick Nurse the guy? Do we start to really get that cycle and say, you know what? Maybe we just need a whole new fresh face, a whole new fresh objective. I know it's a lot early for this talk, but I just think that we're wasting time here. Like, we already know it's over. Like, I'm ready to say it's over with Embiid and Paul George. I am. I'm ready to say it's over. So if it's over with these guys, is it over with Nick Nurse too?
That's where I'll go to the other side. I don't think it is.
Okay.
And for a couple of reasons. I think this is one of the better player development staffs in the NBA. And they have a track record of doing that in Toronto. There's a lot of guys still playing in the playoffs right now. Two of them that are big reasons from Rico Hines and this staff here. And I think what can really, to your point, yeah. I mean, listen, if you got a pulse, you're burned out from last year, right? And it's going to show, right? If you're a care guy and an energy guy like he is, it's going to wear on you. I'm going to tell you where the wear goes out, just from the coaching world of a new year, right? The number 3 pick, new faces, some different energy, right? 3 young kids, right? And whatever you get out of those 2 guys is a bonus. It's a total bonus. So you're in the perfect situation for a brand new year, a different type of energy, right? And if those guys are healthy, then great. Then sky's the limit for us, sure, right? And I'm not going to sit here and die on the hill that either one will be healthy. I think there's a better chance that you get a better version of Paul George this year than you did last year. I'll absolutely maybe fight that fight a little bit, but I won't bet the mortgage on it either, because he's had injury concerns throughout his career. So those 2 guys are just like, dude, if they're healthy, then awesome. If they're not, then we still can compete. And I mean, what I mean by compete is grow. You're going to grow. You're going to let these kids grow together a little bit. So that's where I'm at, man. You got to rebuild it, but you can rebuild it while you're still halfway in the win too. And that's the weird situation that they have that no other NBA franchise really has right now, is that you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you still could win. Are they going to win? No, we know what that outcome is, Tone, but can they refresh and revitalize a coaching staff and us as fans? Sure. I think so.
I hope, man. I do. I just, maybe it's me being burnt out. Maybe it's just right. Because we put a lot of time in this team, man. We really did, and it sucks. And as much as I love watching the series, I'm like, I know we're not getting there for a long time. Like, let's be honest. Like, you're kidding yourself if you think like, oh yeah, next year we're getting with who? I can name 6, 7, 8 teams that are better than us right now. Like, and they're only going to get better. Like, so I look at this and say, what do we have left? And I think it's the injection of youth, like you said, and that's why I'm so mad that they didn't. And listen, I think Joel Embiid, it was a freak of nature. I think he gave us some tremendous years, but we had that window, Tom, to get rid of him. We had the window where, okay, it kind of closed. He was still at the top of his game, and it was an opportunity before you signed this massive extension that maybe you shift gears a little bit. Maybe you shift gears, and they ruined that. They wound up giving him the money, and now they're stuck. And now they just got to hope this guy can play.
He would have been dealt. He would have been dealt after the Boston series.
Yes,
that's 100%. Where I think us as a fan base had enough. Right. I love the guy. He was a son of mine. Right, but that was your time. Yeah. And to your point, they didn't pull the trigger. And it is what it is now. Right. There's no revisionist history. We know what we would have did, but you're lucky ran into the 3 pick here. And listen, if the surgery is successful and he's 80% of the player he was, then great. Then we got house money. I can't believe I'm talking about max contracts being house money, but that's where we're at right now. And we have to look at that as a fan base, right? And just accept that we're doing 2 things at once. If we were just all in on the Embiid train right now, we're not even having a Sixers conversation right now. But the fact that we're having a Sixers conversation and what's going to inject life into this franchise again is Tyrese Maxey, is hopefully, nail polish, and the number 3 pick of the draft.
That's what we got to do. Well, I mean, we are where we're at. I mean, Brian says have to run it back. We're handcuffed. We are handcuffed. I mean, we're handcuffed. However,
straight jacket. We're in a straight jacket. We're not even handcuffed. I mean, you ain't getting out of this.
No. There's listen. Everybody talks about Daryl Morey really turned around, and Houston, and then he waited some more time for Ben Simmons, and he got value. He waited for Harden and got value. Listen. You can wait all you want for Paul George. You're not getting value, man. It is what it is. You decided he came here because you gave him the most money. Does everybody finally see that? For all the people, he chose us. The hell out of here. Like, these are the people that have no idea what the hell is going on. Like, he chose here because he knew he could come here and make 200 something million, and that was more than any other team could pay him. Right? I mean, that's the kind of player Paul George is. And for him to sit there, and he could talk whatever he wants, but I look at it as Ron says about OKC is set up for the next year, 10 to 12 years. Listen, man, there's a team that consistently did things the right way. But see, this is what I'll say, and I know you'll agree with this. People forget that there's a lot of luck that goes into these drafts. So, yes, you can set yourself up for success, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the right guy. And OKC, listen, they got lucky. They had some injuries, and it pushed them back in order to let them get Chet Holmgren, right? So people forget about that. They had no business getting Chet. But look at the way that team has orchestrated their roster, though, and that's what scares me, saying that's how far away we are.
Yeah, I think we are and we aren't. Like it depends what happens with the pick, but like Tyrese Maxey's a 24-year-old kid that gets better every year. You would hope Jared McCain makes some of the same jumps. I already talked about this player development staff. So I mean, I don't. It's long if you don't have consistency. It's long if you don't draft well. It's long if you don't make the right money decisions moving forward. That's when it'll become long again. But I think we see it where maybe it's not as long as we think it is with some of these other organizations, right? You're a piece away, you're this away, and it can change your franchise and revitalize it. Not saying it's going to happen to us, and maybe we are a long ways away, right? Because that's how we feel. We're a long ways away from being a long way away.
Yeah,
that's been the way.
Feel that way, right?
That's the last decade plus. I mean, longer than that. I mean, I wasn't even alive for a championship, so I can't speak for other people, so I don't even know what it feels like. I know one Eastern Conference final. I mean, one NBA final. That's what I got to really watch, and that's AI. So that's how starved we are as a fan base.
I'll be honest, man. I was at what game I was at. It wasn't the year. It wasn't 2001. It was the strike shortened year. The year before that, they had they will play 55 games, I think, and we made the playoffs for the first time. I think we played Orlando, and I went to the one of those home playoff games. And I'll never forget how electric that place was. And I look at that and I remember that 2001 year, right? We all remember that. And with AI and there's 2 game 7s against Milwaukee and Toronto. And I still think Vince Carter's shot was going in. I still can't believe you missed that. But I swore that was going in. But it sucks because that's what we've been waiting for so long. And it comes back to the way I feel is that you can never win a championship with Joel Embiid as a centerpiece of your organization. And I've been saying this for 5 to 6 years, even when they were winning. They will never win a championship with Joel Embiid as the center focus of their offense, the center focus of their team. Because he, as much as you say he can't be defended, this is such a guard-driven league that you can't go up and down and run a fast-paced tempo with a guy like Joel. That's what made Jokic such a freak of nature. That made Giannis such a freak of nature. That ain't Joel. So that's why I always said that was never going to happen. So, and now, listen, it would be nice if it was as easy as just adding an AI, but you got to have 2, 3, 4 pieces now in order to get to that next level.
Yeah, you got to be deeper. You got to be able to shoot it. You got to be able to play defense. I mean, you got to be able to do some of the things that we have not done.
And I will say this though. One thing you touched on was the player development, and I thought it was pretty interesting to see these guys come up from the G League and actually have a lot of success. And whether it was because they were playing against inferior competition, I don't really care. I mean, I watch these guys. Like, whoever thought Bona was going to be a serviceable player, right? This dude got seasoned, came up, played his ass off, man. Played really, really well. Like, as to be a bona fide bench piece as a big man. That's not easy to do in today's NBA. So,
No, you're talking about second round draft pick, right, Tony?
yeah.
So, it's not easy to get
But
any
why are they
type
still
of.
talking about bringing back Andre Drummond?
That's ridiculous.
Like, him and Eric Gordon. Why? Like, that's what kills me, man. Like, I don't understand the logic, man. I don't understand the logic.
Yeah, I could do without Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond. Had enough. That was nice.
Let's talk a little controversy for a minute. I want to get your take on this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark situation. I don't know how much you get involved, but I'm all in. Like, I've been all in, and I love the WNBA. I really do, and I'm just like, I want to have, and everybody in the chat, I want to have a professional, ethical conversation, okay? To where all this black and white stuff is going on with Caitlin and Angel Reese. I just want to add, like, is it okay to just want us to be able to watch these two athletes perform and not make everything a race thing? Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And I'm not saying if you think it's a race thing, it's a bad, like, all I'm saying is when I look at it as a whole, why can't we just say, it's like Caitlin, you can't say Caitlin Clark has changed the game. And then if she does something to Angel Reese, now it's, racism or on the other end, right? Like, and I know it's a very touchy subject, but why can't we just stick it to sports? That's what I don't understand. And I don't know, maybe it's me wanting something that'll never happen, but I look, Magic and Bird, we watched the Magic and Bird rivalry, right? I mean, like, what is the problem? I don't understand. Angel Reese is not Caitlin Clark. I mean, can we agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's a conversation because one player is head and shoulders better than the other player. So part of it is women being women and creating drama. I mean, as much as I can be politically correct by saying that, it's drama because I'm not as good as somebody else, and they're getting the love that I'm not getting. So that's where I take it. That's where I've taken it from the very beginning. And I don't think she's a good player. So it's like, it's one thing if you're a really good player and you got this rivalry going on, but one is significantly better than the other one. And I don't know the only debates happen is when they play each other, it becomes this whole big thing, and it's just stupid.
It is. I do think there's a lot of credence behind what you said. And one of the biggest things I came out with last year was the whole point of WNBA is to grow the league, is to get revenue, to grow the game, to grow the game, to grow the game. Well, why should we worry about who's growing the frigging game? Like, the issue at hand should be growing the friggin' game. Whether it's Tom growing a game or Tony growing, who the hell cares? Like, we're all benefiting, right? Like, that's what I never understood. And listen, I'll be honest, I'm probably a bigger Angel Reese fan than a lot of people, but I think the problem with Angel Reese is I don't really think it's Angel Reese. I think it's people placing false expectations on what her abilities are. Like, she's a damn good defender, a gritty rebounder, and she's good in the post. But besides that, she's not going to be a three-point player. She's not going to be a 20-foot jumper. That's not her game. But people want to make that her game. They want to talk about like that's her game. So, she's basically, honestly, she's a better female version of Dennis Rodman that can actually shoot. Right? She's going to be that gritty defender. She's going to be that person in your face that cause controversy. She's like a Draymond Green. That's what she is. But Draymond Green and Des Rodman were nothing compared to LeBron James and Michael Jordan. So why can we not say that she's nothing compared to Caitlin Clark? We're not saying she's not important. We're not saying that. But I've actually had people I've seen it both ways. I've seen people be called a racist on both ends, because if they're sticking up for Angel Reese, one side's calling race. If they're sticking up for Caitlin Clark, the other side's calling. Like, I don't understand it. Why do we have to even bring that in? Let's just focus on the game. Now, again, I know there's other issues, and I'm not talking about them, and it's not even that's not my lane. But what I'm saying is, just from the sport perspective, let's just let them play out, man. That's all I'm saying.
It should be about sports, but we live in an immature society, so that's how I look at it.
Yeah, you're getting Angel Reese is getting her doors blown off by 30 or 40 and is trying to start a problem with Clark. It all stems from Reese's college. Yeah, listen, I like the rivalry. That's the thing. Like, that's what I want people to understand. Like, I enjoy it. Like, Dawn Staley was on one of the radio stations. They asked her about. She's like, "Look, man, I'm tuned in. Like, I can't wait for the next game." And that's what everybody should be talking about, because now you're creating an audience. You're creating a newfound revenue base for the WNBA.
Well, I think that's what the WNBA was trying to do by this, and then Twitter and other platforms with morons doesn't allow it to happen. That overrides what they're trying to accomplish. Like, if we had Twitter back in Magic and Bird days, this would be a nightmare.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And those guys actually loved each other, right? They loved to compete versus each other. So when you find out the truth after the fact, you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, right. But if Twitter was back then, it would have been, oh my God. In the 80s too, right? Where, like, I think we're so far past that as a society. At least we should be, but we're not. That's the problem. Like, we should be so past the things that happened before we were all born. We should be past that generationally. Like, we should just, like, our generation should be past all that nonsense. Are you kidding me? Like,
I know.
Come on. And listen, that's where I stand on it. Not that history isn't important, because it is. Because you can learn from history. Absolutely. But society-wise, like, we're still doing this. We're still doing where you're from, what the color of your skin is. We're still doing this shit. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying, man.
I was always growing up to say, I don't, the person next to you could be black, white, yellow, green, doesn't matter. If they're a good person or a good person. And that's how I was raised in my household. So,
that's how I was raised, man. That's how my kids were raised. Yeah, that's how I was raised. That's why, like, I don't see that. Like, that's people like, I don't understand, because I don't look at that. I'm looking at it strictly through a sports lens. So, and last thing I'll say is, the one thing that will always stay with Angel Reese, just like LeBron always had the decision that'll always classify him. Unfortunately, Angel Reese's comment about it's other people here besides Caitlin Clark, that's always going to stick with her. Instead of just saying, yeah, we're really elevating this lake. No, she had to try to make it about her. And that, unfortunately, was always going to go down the wrong path. So she kind of laid her own grave with that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But, unfiltered. Let's finish it up, man. Unfiltered. What do you got? An unfiltered take from this week, man? Anything, sports, life, whatever. Oh, I like this comment, by the way. Tom, listen, there's one thing that unites all races and religions. It's Wu-Tang Wu forever, man. Like, can I get to the violin and unite it? Just hear that? Like, I just want to hear that frame, man. Like, oh my God. I can't say the whole refrain on the show, but it's Wu's one of my bands, man.
Lead us off, Aaron, because I'm thinking.
All right, well, so me, it happened today. And it's sports related. I really do like listening to Unsportsmanlike. I like the show. I'm not a Chris Caney fan, but I do like the show. I think they have a lot of good information on it. But it goes about the tush push, but not. I don't want to get repetitive about that. But the take that Chris Canty had, which I think is absolutely irresponsible and so ridiculous. So it got so bad today when he started talking about the tush push, because he's actually on the side that, it should have been banned. And his first thing he's talking about is he's waiting, like, literally, we're waiting for the first injury the first significant injury to happen from this play, so we can basically tell you I told you so. So we basically can say, no, we don't want to hear nobody when they say we didn't warn you. Like, that's your stance. So you're literally wanting somebody to be injured. That's what you're saying on national radio. You want so you can basically prove a point. Like, what the hell kind of radio and society do we listen to now? Where that's what this has come down to. That and you know what, man, and that's where all this toxicity comes in this world. It's like, come on, like you're that ridiculous that the notion of not being able to be right, that you need to force this narrative so much that you're willing to have somebody injured just so it can prove a point. I just thought was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Of course, not shocking that he made that comment.
I kind of was blown by it. I was blown away. I was really like, I was not expecting it at all. Like, I was really shocked, and and he kept going on and on, and he was going on about how how we always say, like, we're like, I hope the Eagles come out and run like the tush push for like an entire game in a now he's on the other end, like he wants all these teams to run it, and I'm like, you're not making any sense, dude. Like what? Like, now you're just trying to force a narrative that doesn't exist. But again, I guess I got to get clicks and they need ratings for the show.
Yeah, of course. Oh.
People ignore. See, this is the Angel Reese is a good girl. She's just feisty. So I listen. Not saying that, but people ignore the shit talk Caitlin does on the court. But here. I love these comments, by the way. Like, so who's saying that? Like, what are we ignoring? Like, so you can't talk shit as a player? Every single freaking player talks shit. That's what they do. Right? That's what they do. Everybody talks shit. One of the biggest athletes that you love, Brandon Graham, in this city, all he does was talk shit. All he did. So now all of a sudden we have to worry about that? Like, see, that's the dumb shit that I can't stand. Sorry.
Wow,
ran over. Ran over. Chris Sims continues to double down on Jalen not being a. Yeah. That's, you know what, Greg, you're right. That's again. That's the narrative that they want us to believe. Just like Jalen Carter isn't on the top 50 players under 25. Really? The dude's like. Who makes these lists? But again, I really think that they basically make these lists purposely to get ratings. They know that people are going to talk about it, right? So if they came out and they listed it exactly the way we all thought it should be, then who would freaking talk about it? Nobody. People have to realize this is media is a machine. That's all it is. Media is a machine that wants money, that wants clicks, that wants revenue, that wants exposure. You can't get it without controversy. Simple. Can't get it without controversy. And to think that a lot of these outlets are not working together strategically to fabricate arguments and fabricate, whether it be, social media platform posts, you're ridiculous because that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's an injury in 1 and 2, so can't. Yeah, you're right. It's a shame, though. That's the point, and I get it. I think Landon Dickerson was hurt like 3 times on that friggin' play, right? But it happens, right? But to say that you're waiting for is ridiculous, man. It's just so crazy. Don't get mad with. Listen, man, I'm not getting mad when other people respond to it. Not at all. Not at all. And I don't think Caitlin Clark's getting mad. Listen. How about, and this might piss people off, but I think you need to give Caitlin Clark some freaking flowers, man, because the way she handled, I mean, this girl revitalized an entire friggin' league. This girl was a single reason why they have the option, or they have the chance of actually getting paid a decent wage in the next CBA for them. She's the single reason why they're selling out freaking arenas. And she got more hate and more shit talked about her than any other player. And what did she do about it? What'd she do? She pop off? She get crazy? Nope. She took it. She ate it. And she just kept getting better. She kept getting better. Just let her game speak for it. Right? I'm not talking about on the court. You're like this, she's a beast. She's gonna talk shit, she's gonna get crazy. But she's not complaining. That's all I'm saying. Like, of all people, she's not complaining. So I think it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have an unfiltered take from the week. This hasn't been a lot, but I'll say one thing. I think I'll keep this quick, but I think the Phillies. I think they're going to win the World Series this year. I think this year's the year.
I like that.
Not just because of the last winning 7 in a row. I think this pitching staff's that good. Where they're going to be dangerous, man. They're going to be dangerous. They're going to be a tough out. So I'm excited. And as much as you can get excited in May, but we're getting to the end of May, and they're playing good baseball. They've had some ebb and flows, but they won a ton of series. They weren't necessarily sweeping people. Now they're starting to do a little bit of that. So I don't know. I'm just excited about them, and it's sort of unfiltered, like an unfiltered prediction.
Listen, I like it because I think a lot of people were underestimating the Luzardo move. A lot of people were underestimating that. And I get it. The people like yourself and myself who followed the game knew how good this kid was, but because he played in a bad organization, not many people really knew. They're like, who the hell is this kid? And they looked at the wins and losses, which is, he played for a bad freaking team. Like, this kid is the epitome of what you want as a starter. He's an ace. Like, he's a legitimate ace. And to have him as your number 4, are you kidding me? Like, he's your number 4. So yeah, I do think, Tom, that this is a different. I get a different vibe with this team this year. I don't, and I can't explain it. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't want to say cliche. It's all business, all that. No, I get a different vibe. And I'll end on this. I will give flowers because I buried them. I'll give flowers to Trey Turner, and I will give flowers because finding out, what he was challenged to do and what he took as a challenge as his hitting approach to be, listen, I'm going to redevelop myself into a base hitter and not a home run hitter, not a power stroke guy, because I'm going to be leading off and I need to be a trendsetter. And he actually did it because he looks like the most uninterested player on the field, but he actually did it. And it's, listen, the only, who was the only, what they say today? The only guy, Freddie Freeman. He had the most hits next to Freddie Freeman last month. Like, this dude's hitting over 300, and there's a reason why that Kyle Schwarber's got so many goddamn RBIs, right? Is because, again, not only is he hitting the shit out of the ball, but guys in front of him getting on base.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing. This is why there's a little bit different of a feel here. Trey Turner's in his natural spot. He became more of a contact hitter, less chase rate. Yep. So that kind of stuff just locks you in, man. And when you're not trying to over swing and hit everything out of the park, your contact rate goes up, your base hits go up, and that's how hitting was always meant to happen, right? And you hit the ball out that is a mistake, or you hit a ball out by not trying to do too much. And credit to him, and again, credit for them realizing that Kyle Schwarber needs to be in a power position, and we need to use him that way, and he's capitalized on it. And I think that's another reason why they feel different. Now we have bullpen issues that we'll get into, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about. But I do believe that they're an organization that's set up the right way to be able to go make the moves they need to make to be able to bolster the pen a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely have everything they need in order to do it, and I think they will do it. I do. I will think. And real quick tidbit before we get out of here: what do you all think about see what Cody Clemens is doing out there in Minnesota, man? Like,
I didn't see what he's doing. Is he playing well?
Bro, playing well is not ever since he betrayed, he's got 16 hits, he's batting over 300, he's got 3 home runs, he's killing it. And it's like you start to think, $10 million for Max Kepler or keeping Cody Clemens, right? So I know we can always go back but I always saw something in the kid, man. I'll be honest with you. He had a desire to be able to play and to be able to work at it. He got it from his father. He has a lineage, right? And he just looked like a gamer to me. He looked like a dude who injected a lot of not just energy, but competition and competitive atmosphere within that clubhouse. And it sucks, man. I wish he was here. I do. And good for him for going off, but I think we're going to miss him. I do.
Yeah.
I disagree, brother. Yeah, I disagree that you can find 100 Cody Clemens. Nah, I don't think so. Sorry. I don't think maybe 20, not 100. Not 100.
Yeah, I'm like whatever on him. I think there's so many lefties here that it was one of them situations. I don't think he's as good of an outfielder as Kepler, to be able to like go be your everyday starting left fielder per se. But the bat, I always thought he could swing it for sure. Just didn't really have a position here. And that's what happens when, Bryce Harper's playing first base. So just didn't have a position. I feel like that's where it was. And probably best thing for a guy is to get traded where you can go play every day.
Listen,
just wasn't going to get it here. And that's because of Harper, because he's not a good enough outfitter, in my opinion.
He couldn't be susceptible in left field, you don't think?
I think when you talk about having Nick,
I should say.
Like when you have Nick in one spot, not that Nick's bad, right? But he's not fast, and then you got another guy that's not necessarily an outfielder. I think you can just run it. Yeah, I think you can just run into some problems. Not maybe in this park, right? But we don't always play here, right? And there's other parks that play bigger, etc. Like Weston Wilson stinks out there, right? So because he's not an outfielder. Like if you're an outfielder, you're an outfielder. It's not a position that's that easy to just go and play. I know guys do it because these guys are the best of the best and they can do that kind of stuff. But naturally, it's not an easy adjustment. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think he would hit as well as he's hitting. I assume he's playing first base there.
Yeah, I don't know where he's playing, to be honest with you.
Well, just my guess is if he's playing first and doing that, it makes more sense if that's his natural position.
Minnesota stinks, so it's not like anybody's blocking him, right? So
yeah, so maybe he is playing first, right? Right, but that would make more sense because I think if he's playing the outfield, maybe you don't get a good enough bat just because you're worried about your defense out there.
Yeah, so, nah, that's a good point. Good point.
I don't think he was getting at bats because he's a lefty. More so than Bohm struggling, right? I think it's more just like how they are about too many lefties. So that's their thing.
Hey man, like you said, World Series, let's go, baby.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about any of these guys. Let's go win it all.
Let's go win a ring finally.
We're gonna need some bullpen help. So
yes, we are.
That's it.
Yes, we are.
But great show, brother.
Yeah, man. Yo, thanks for everybody tuning in. As always. Yeah, man, absolutely. I love some of it. I think this is a Trotter jersey. So let me ask you if it was Brandon Graham, but I didn't see the 4, I guess. But yeah, it's a Trotter jersey.
Yeah, you can see the 4 right up there.
I don't know, man. Somebody is Brandon Graham. I don't know why, but
people can't see.
Nah,
not
at all.
Philly Sports Unfiltered, A2D Radio. That's Tony Cutillo. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, on your way out, hit the like, subscribe, follow if you haven't already. Turn your notifications on. We'll see you guys next Thursday night, like always. Similar time, same place, same night. We can guarantee you that stuff. I can guarantee you that. You guys have a great night. Phils, have a safe Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Summer's upon us. Doesn't feel like it today, but it's getting there. We out.